everybody, JC here with another T&I toy review. And for today's review, I'm going to be taking a look at the brand new Machine Robo Revenge of Cronos Eagle Robo figure from Action Toys. Now for those of us here in the United States, these figures are basically reproductions of the original GoBots toy line, and these are kind of being billed as masterpiece versions of the GoBots. This particular one is, they call Eagle Robo, but again, for those of us here in the United States, we knew this character as Leader-1. It comes packaged in a box, and the box isn't terribly big. It measures about 7 inches in height and about 4.5 inches in width. And on one side you've got an image of the toy in its robot mode, and you've got the name and everything. And I believe this says it's figure number 3 in the series. And then again on the side, again, an image of the toy in robot mode. In the background you see the jet mode. Then on this side you've got a picture of the toy in jet mode, and then again jet mode with the robot in the background. And just purple coloring for the packaging. Okay, so let's get this open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figure and the contents outside the packaging. Now, most of the stuff that you see is actually for the display base that you can use with the figure in both robot and jet modes. So we've got to assemble this. Now you do get an instruction sheet that shows you how to like transform him and everything. You actually get a second sheet that goes into even a little more detail. The funny thing though is you see all these parts here, and as I said, most of these are for this display base, and they don't actually give you instructions on how to assemble the base. So I'm going to try and put this together, so wish me luck on that. Okay, so I think I've got this figured out, though I do seem to be missing some pieces. So there's 2 different ways they've got this so you can set this little display thing up. So one way I think is supposed to be just kind of a display, you'll see here in the picture. However, there should be 2 more of these pieces that go down here on the side, and I don't have that. So I don't know if maybe you get them extra pieces with the other figures in the line or what have you. But as it is, and it looks like with this way, it's just, you're just supposed to sit it on there, and it's supposed to be just kind of like a display base. So there's not much point. It doesn't actually, the figure doesn't attach to anything as far as I can tell. So you just basically sit it on there, and then you would have these extra railings here on the side if I had all the pieces. Okay, so this is the second way the picture shows assembling this thing, and this gives you kind of a flight arm. So the thing is though, it doesn't stay in there very well. It just clips in there, and this arm doesn't stay on there very well. So this whole thing really doesn't seem to be that well constructed, so I don't really know if it's worth using. This is probably better to use in his jet mode than in his robot mode. But nevertheless, the way it works is you've got this little piece here, and you've got a hole in the back of the figure here, and you just plug that in, and then you can just plug it in. And so like if you wanted to get him in some jumping poses and stuff like that, that's what this is supposed to be. But again, this arm doesn't stay attached very well to the base. So, you know, again, I wouldn't really recommend it. This whole thing, like I said, I like the idea of it, but they just didn't really seem to execute it very well. And instructions on how to actually put it together would have been nice as well. So the final thing he comes with is his weapons, and these, you'll notice you get basically, these are 2 missiles, and these are more for his jet mode. However, these also make up his rifle that he comes with. When you're using him in his robot mode, these are actually the barrel of the rifle. You can see little holes. And so basically what you want to do is you just attach these 2 missile pieces together. You have a tabs and holes on each side. So you just plug them in, and then basically what you want to do is you get these handle pieces, and you want to, there's a hole up here on the top, and so you want to plug it into the tab there, and then the left side, and then the handle kind of comes together here at the back portion and forms the actual handle that the robot can hold. So now he's got this kind of shotgun looking weapon, which looks pretty cool. And then like I said, and when he's in his jet mode, which I'll show you when we transform him, then you'll attach it to the bottom of the wings for his missiles. Okay, so the figure itself, I think they've done a pretty nice job here. You've got some die-cast metal in the making of this, so it's got some decent weight to it, and looks pretty reminiscent of what I remember the original Leader-1 toy looking like. I think it was Mattel that made the original GoBots, if I remember correctly, at least here in the United States. I'm not a huge expert on GoBots. I watched a few of the original cartoon episodes when I was a kid, and I had the Leader-1 toy, which stood about, if I remember correctly, was about this high. So, you know, these GoBots weren't that big, at least the regular ones. I think they came along with Super GoBots later on, but the original ones were not that big. So, you know, this is bigger than the original toy as I remember it. And again, the detailing on it's pretty nice. I like the face sculpt. You've got some translucent yellow for the eyes, which looks pretty good, captures the light nice. And you've got this red stripe on his head. I don't necessarily remember the red stripe on his head, but, you know, I'm not a huge GoBots expert, but I do like the look of it. And then you've got some lighter silver striping on his head as well, and then dark gray. So I like that. The coloring on this is you've basically got light gray and then dark gray, and then you've got the red stripe on his head, and you've got this little red area in his waist section, and that's about it. You've got blue plastic, translucent plastic for the windshield of the cockpit in his jet mode, but mostly just light and dark grays as far as the colors go on this, which again is very true to the original toy. So the figure stands in robot mode about 5 1/4 inches tall. And just like with the original toys, Transformers tend to be bigger than GoBots. So here's a comparison of the Transformer Masterpiece Sideswipe with this Eagle Robo / Leader-1, and you can see Sideswipe is definitely taller. Okay, so articulation on this is pretty good. The head you can turn left and you can turn right, and he can actually look up really high. He can't really look down at all. Arms are attached with ball joints, so you can get the arm out good, and you've got good rotation there. And you've got a bicep swivel, and you've got essentially a double jointed elbow, so good bending there at the elbow, and you've got swivels at the wrist, and you've got a little bit of down movement with the hand. Now there's no articulation with the fingers. You've got a midsection joint, so you've got rotation there basically at the waist, and he can kind of look down at the waist, and he can look back at the waist. Legs are attached with ball joints, so you can get the legs out good. You can get the leg forward good, and you can get the leg back. You've got a thigh swivel. You've got basically a single hinge knee. So you can, this back wing, which is part of the transformation, kind of limits some of the movement, but if you open the wing out a little bit, then you can actually bend the knee pretty good. And then with the feet, you have the front feet and the back foot, you know, they can kind of come down. So, and you got a little bit of rocking motion. It's basically attached with the ball joint, and you've got some rotation to the left and the right with the feet. Okay, so transforming him from his robot mode to his jet mode is fairly simple. Basically what you want to do is you first pull these shoulder pieces apart, and then you want to turn these side pieces on his shoulder down. And then what you want to do is take this back piece and just pull it down, and then you can turn the head. Basically you want the head so the forehead is facing forward and he's looking straight up in the air. Then you can pull these pieces on his lower arm down and push his hands up into the arm. You can do that on both. And then just turn the lower arms so that these pieces are facing inward. Now what you want to do is take this piece here and just kind of pull it down, get it out of the way with. And then what you're going to do is basically the lower arm you're going to want to connect with the upper arm here, and you can see there's a tab here and there's a little hole here, and so you want to connect them in. You can go on and push these shoulder pieces back in. Now this is where it gets a little tricky, getting the arms to slide in. Basically the arms are going to slide in, and you can see how it matches to the pattern of the vent you gotta make sure you get this back piece out of the way. That's kind of the tricky thing. And it should click in. And do the same thing on this side. You have the arm pieces clicked into place, then what you want to do is you make sure you take these back pieces, these gray pieces, and just kind of push them in, and again they should click into place. And then you want to just take the cockpit and just lift it up over the head, and then it should click into place. So now you've got the front part of the jet made, and then the back part is pretty simple. You just pull out the wings and you close the feet, and they make the jets. And you pull up these back wings as well, and then basically what you want to do is just slide, basically bring this back part of the leg, and it's going to come up over the leg and should just click into place. And then it should all clip into place like that, and there you go. So now you've got your jet. Then finally what you want to do is you want to take his weapons. So first of all, you want to take the handle pieces that were part of the, this was the handle for his rifle, and you want to take these, and you want to, there's a little hole here, up here by the wing, and what you want to do is you just want to slide that in, basically the part of the handle in there, and it should just click into place. And so basically it gives the wing some extra support so the wing doesn't like fold closed, and it also just gives you a place to kind of store these handle pieces when he's in jet mode. And then then you take the missiles, which are also part of the rifle, and you can see there's little pegs on the top of them, and there's little holes on the wings, and you just plug them in. So now your jet is armed with missiles. And this has working landing gear, so you've got a front landing gear, and you just pull it down with your fingernail and it comes out, and also has two back landing gear that you can pull out. And the landing gear done with just plastic, it feels like, and the wheels don't actually roll. Now, if you want to do the display base with it in jet mode, again, you have this little piece here, and you have the hole here on the bottom, and what you want to do is you just clip it in. So now you can put your jet into various flight poses. Close the landing gear here. Now you have to be careful, because again, probably want to turn it so it's not so top heavy. The arm is very stiff on this thing, so again it's kind of hard to do, but there you go. So in his jet mode, he's not as sleek looking as I remember the original toy. He's got a wider wingspan. His wingspan is about 5 inches, and then he measures about 6 1/4, just under 6.5 inches in length. So he's definitely seems to have a wider wingspan, but otherwise he looks pretty true to what I remember the original toy. Now he's got this very blue translucent plastic cockpit, canopy cockpit, and then the rest is basically just gray. You've got a little bit of silver here for the vents. The cone, the front cone, is the same color as the rest of the jet, and then the underside you've got the darker grays and the black for the engines. And the engines you can kind of move and position and open up a little bit, since it's the feet of the robot. But overall, I would say it looks pretty good in his jet mode and looks pretty true to what I remember the original toy. Not a lot in the way of markings. GoBots didn't have like markings to differentiate the good guys and bad guys like the Autobots and Decepticons did, and it doesn't have like any kind of Air Force markings or anything like that on it either. But neither did the original toy. Okay, so that's my review. Overall, I would say if you're a fan of the original GoBot toys, this is something you may want to check out. The figure itself is pretty decent. Doesn't have a whole lot of detailing, but again, that's pretty in keeping with the original toys. I don't like the whole flight stand. It doesn't work very well, and it would also have been nice if they'd included instructions on how to actually put it together, and also it seems like it's missing a few pieces. Other than that, though, again, I think it's a pretty decent figure. It is a little bit on the pricey side. These cost about $45, $46, so they're definitely not cheap figures. But again, I would say if you're a fan of the original GoBots, this is something you may want to check out. So this is available now. You can get it at places like Big Bad Toy Store. We'll have a full gallery of images up at toynewseye.com. There'll be a link in the description below. As always, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. If you're so inclined, please like the video. Also, if you haven't already, please follow me on my Facebook and or Twitter pages. I'll have links to those in the video description as well. And until next time, I'll catch you later.